Hi everybody, it's Adrian here. Today I wanted to talk about a few things that have been happening recently, including this period of downtime that I had very recently. So today would be day 3 of that situation, but thankfully it's a temporary thing, just like I predicted. I just didn't know how long it was going to last. This hero's journey is very complex and complete and balanced because the fact that the hero went through the dark night of the soul doesn't make his success, his glory, his victory any less valuable at the end. Oh, yeah, but he's been down there. So what? It's part of it. Why did I expect to continue this very smooth path? And I say smooth because it's how I'm referring to the fact that I'm persistent, consistent, disciplined, motivated, driven all the time. If it just happened to me to have one of those bumps in the road recently and I suddenly couldn't carry on with my usual schedule, what makes me think that my end result is going to be any less valuable because I had one of those bad days in the middle of it? Nothing. It's part of it. It made me think about the following concept, and it makes a lot of sense. You're climbing this mountain, like we say all the time. I use it as an analogy because it's very visual and very easy to understand. You're climbing this mountain, you get to the top, and then you expect to have nothing else to do but to enjoy staying at the top forever without having to work for it or anything like that. Unfortunately, that's not how life works. That's not how the universe works. You've seen it in so many different situations, such as working out, dieting. You know, fighters have to defend their titles against other fighters who won the titles. So you don't just get the belt, show it around, get the trophies, show the trophies, and then put them on a shelf, and that's it. You have to stay in the business. You're actively involved in the art of defending your victory, your glory. Okay? You have to stay a winner. And here's the interesting part of this, because that comes at the cost. You making it to the top of the mountain comes at a price. The price is you get to enjoy it for a while, and then you get knocked back down to day 1. That's the point. And then you do it all over again. This is how these cycles work. So the fact that I went through this brief period of darkness, I would say very recently, which accentuated even more in the last days and culminated in this desperation type of moment, like apocalyptic thoughts swarming my mind, just couldn't think of anything better. It's one of those moments where you think the world is basically shattering around you and the weight on your shoulders gets heavier and heavier. So you think, what's going to happen if I don't make it? What's going to happen if this goes wrong? What's going to happen if this and that? So you come across the worst case scenarios in your mind and you find a way to cope with them. Well, if that happens, then at least I'll have this, right? I went through that, got over it. Now I feel stupid because of thinking that way. I'm like, how could I have thought that it was gonna go wrong? This was temporary. Like, you knew it. You knew it was temporary. Why do you lose your shit in those situations? And here's the monologue, right? I didn't lose my shit. I was just saying, no, you did lose your shit. So this is how you kind of have those conversations with yourself, trying to convince yourself of things, trying to talk yourself out of some other things. But eventually, what matters is that you make it to that top, that you learn that you don't get to stay there forever. You get knocked down back to day 1, and then you got to do it all over again. That's life. And it's kind of interesting that I thought of the hero's journey as a reference to this because it is true. Like, the hero starts at point A, and by the time he gets at point B, he's very different, very changed. He's been through a lot of stuff. And point B turns out just to be point A, actually, because it's like a round trip back to the beginning. But now you're coming back to your people, to your initial point, with the sacred flame of the gods, that improved knowledge and experience. You're way more different in so many ways at this point. And now you get to do it all over again. It keeps repeating. This is a fractal universe, right? So everything is replicated at different scale. The more you look into it, the more you zoom in, the tinier the worlds you get to see, yet they're still just as complex as the more you zoom out and the bigger the worlds you see. They're just the same, just different scale, different levels, different layers. So it doesn't end. I still stand by what I said long ago. You don't get off this train. Once you hop on, it's on, baby. It goes on forever. It's eternal. You never get to stop. You might have some little pauses here and there, but eventually the way is like this. Okay? Now, if you zoom into this line, you get to see the little bumps in the road. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but each year feels like a cycle. Like, oh, last year was such a good year. This year sucks. Does that mean the next year is going to suck too? No, it doesn't. It still remains to be seen. We will find out next year. It's kind of beautiful to have this patience and just mind your own business until the next thing comes up and you deal with it. That's the bridge I always talk about. Let's not cross a bridge that we're not onto the location of the bridge yet. Which I never find a really correct way to say this, but I'm basically trying to cross bridges that are far from here. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you try to cross a bridge that you're not there yet? How? For instance, that job interview next week. Not in my case, I'm just making something up. Why do you keep losing your shit over something that's going to happen in a week from now? Why think of something that's months away from whatever that's happening that you're going through right now? It's no point. Well, you got to prepare in advance. I get it. That's fine. But from there to what you're doing, which is to dwell on it 24/7, exhausting yourself, spending all that life energy into something that doesn't need your attention right now, but in the future, far, far, far in the future from now. Why do you anticipate so much to this? Why don't you deal with the stuff that's going on right now? Because this is a vicious cycle that keeps you down this spiral of death, full of negativity, horrible thoughts. It's because you're distracted, because it's taking your attention away from the present moment and putting it into something in the future that hasn't happened yet. And then you become resentful towards yourself. Oh, I spent so much time thinking about this. I didn't pay attention to what was going on right now. Fuck, now I missed it. Now that's in the past. So there you are. You're trapped between the future and the past, never in the present. That's where most problems come from, because you're not paying attention to this very moment right here. So yeah, with this being said, I wish you all like a nice day, a nice week, a nice time conquering your mountain, because that's the thing, right? That mountain is like an analogy for whatever the struggle you're dealing with is right now. Whether it is, just trying to wake up earlier in the morning is really hard. That's your struggle. But it goes from that bottom level to as high as like dealing with some tragedy or something horrible that's going on in your life. There's always gray area in the middle, and each of us have we have our own mountains, right? So that's what I'm wishing you to conquer and overcome. Get to the top, learn to appreciate the nice views, the beautiful views up there, because soon enough, you're going to get knocked back down again at day one, and you'll get to do it all over again. This time, hopefully, it's a different view, but the same feeling. The feeling of success, victory, winning, right? So with this being said, let's keep growing, keep learning, keep improving, because it's who we are and it's what we do. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.